This is Ben Gougeon with Quad City Arts, and welcome back to Talking Art, supported by Quad City Bank and Trust. Today I'm talking art with Jessica Beshears, the editor of Undercurrent, a new Quad Cities magazine highlighting local fine and experimental art. Jessica, welcome to Talking Art.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be able to talk to you.
Great.
Yeah, we've circled each other in various other circles and capacities before, and I'm thrilled. This is a copy of Undercurrent, your new magazine, which you had applied for some arts dollars through Quad City Arts to put out, and here it is, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. An entire year of putting things together. It's exciting to have a finished copy.
Yeah, I bet, and it's really well done. It looks beautiful inside. You can, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see some of the artwork that is featured in here, and it's a really lovely piece. I'm, of course, turning to terrible pages. But so tell me, what was the inspiration for Undercurrent? What made you want to produce this?
Well, a few things. When I was quite young, I picked up my first copy of High Fructose, it's a really nice art magazine. It focuses more on like lowbrow, weirder things.
Yeah.
So that kind of had a deep, I've had a deep love for these types of publications. And then in college, I was the editor for our literary magazine at an arts college, so it had a lot of arts in it. And going through to get my bachelor's in art history, I really realized that most places where you learn about art, they had people writing about it and connecting those dots. And these things all kind of came together to where I was like, we need one for the Quad Cities because there's so much great things happening, and you can really trace a lot of these lines where people are being taught by different people, and you can see how these art movements are forming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, what was because you have stories in here from past artists and current artists. What was kind of the inspiration for what you wanted this first issue to be? Mm-hmm. And your plan is that this will be a yearly release, correct?
Yep. So the first issue, it was really almost like a proof of concept. Yes, there's great things happening here. We have historical artists like Father Cattage, who, if you go to Ambrose, you probably, well, not even everybody at Ambrose, but people in the art department of Ambrose really know Father Cattage's work. He was super prolific, and recently there was a conference that happened at Ambrose that was around calligraphy, and it brought people from all over the world because he had such a hand in creating the serif and typography. But then to be able to look at other artists who like Richie, he does some vending, some more commercial stuff like tattoo work, but his sculpture is so incredibly interesting, and it's not something that you really get to see in galleries around here.
Right.
There's a focus on more commercialized, because we need to pay the bills,
Right.
Obviously this, but being able to focus on these really cool projects that people are doing outside of what's paying the bills, you know, that really deep-seated passion. It's nice to be able to talk about those things and really bring to light the different things that are happening in the arts world here.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about that idea over the last couple of days of, I don't know if you know Meow Wolf.
Yeah.
You know, and if there's a great documentary about their origin and how they started and how they moved, but just kind of you're talking about kind of the art versus the commercialized stuff, and how they have obviously gotten very commercial. And I think there's a difference in art, and it's when you get past the I am hand making this and now I'm fabricating it.
Yeah.
That's where that line lays.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah.
And that was so impressive with Richie's to see just this handcrafted stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it was really great at the release party. Richie set up a sculpture. He brought a U-Haul in. He had all of the themes that he wanted to work with, and a basic idea of
Yeah.
what it was going to look like. But then he had me take some of just the random objects around Rostocks to throw in there. And, together we he mostly put together this really great scene that was, I mean, it was such a nice thing to have at the release party.
Yeah.
So you could read about his process and how he approaches things and actually see a piece that it's never going to look like that again.
Right.
It's very ephemeral.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, that I think we've seen more in more recent years with live painting becoming more of a thing and bringing people into that process of art making versus just, I think the idea we traditionally have of the artist in visual arts, at least, like the artist alone in their studio,
Right.
slaving away and then
Yep.
ta-da!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's really the experimental art it's so interesting, and to be able to, have the idea of art expanding and pushing that envelope and bringing people in to participate. I mean, it adds just such a great layer of community and mindfulness, being in the moment. It's yeah.
Yeah. So when you were putting this together, because there's such a wide range of people in here, and thinking about just the title of it, it's a fine and experimental arts in the QC, which is obviously a very broad spectrum. Yeah. And you talk about Father Kadich and Richie and the artery and the exhibit of Haitian art at the Figgy, which is obviously a really broad range. What led you to selecting those specific artists and exhibits?
Yeah, well, basically, I started first by considering, okay, what are the things that I want to pinpoint that, everything has to come together to create what is our, art scene, which was, okay, I want a gallery, I want an exhibition, I want a featured artist, a historical artist, and so... I mean, Father Kadich was an easy choice for me because I went to Ambrose. I got my art history degree at Ambrose, and he's always been such an interesting person to me.
Yeah.
So that was kind of just an easy one to start with. But, I mean, Richie, I've been friends with Richie for a long time, and I knew that he had really cool sculptural work, but since he's been out of his master's program, he's been working. He's a professor over at Blackhawk too. So I really wanted to catch up with him and see where he was at with all of that. And the Figgy Haitian art, that was something that it's always been a little elusive to me.
Sure.
Because Haitian art, I talk about it in the article, it's so many nations that came together basically at the end of the slave trade. Anybody who was, not just knuckling under, went there, which is why it's been a country in huge turmoil. But they have, to call it Haitian art is a little funny because it's there's so many, different things that fall under that. It's just a country, and they've got a gazillion different movements. But I find the beadwork that they do just stunning. I mean, when you really look at it, the craftsmanship. And I think that's something that really ended up being kind of like a undercurrent of the thing is just the craftsmanship involved. It's all very aesthetically interesting. But there is a really precise kind of craftsmanship that goes into it. And the artery, especially having been formerly part of the gallery hop downtown, and with all of the talk about revitalizing downtown Rock Island and them getting into their first year up the hill, I really just wanted to sit down and talk to Carolyn about how that's been going and where she sees it. I mean, I would love to see more galleries coming into downtown Rock Island too. But, it's one of those things you can't just all at once we have 5 galleries, you know. But it's a conversation that it's I wanted to start here and then, maybe by the 10th Undercurrent, we'll be able to catch up and see where things are then.
Things are then, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I was so excited to hear that, you're planning on doing this yearly, because I feel a lot of times with publications like this, and I've seen it, or like people are going to put together chapbooks or whatever, like it happens once and then dies away.
Right. Yeah.
So we're doing more.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I have the date set to get started on the next one, and it's in November. Like,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yep, get it out and then start again.
Yep. It's basically how it's going to be. So, but I'm really excited. There is kind of when I got the test print for this one, there was like a little fluke, which it ended up being like double printed. So it was about twice as big. And I'm like, oh, this is what I want to shoot for. You know, it will take a couple extra people writing things and whatnot. But, you know, I'm excited to see where it'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where can people get this? Because I know you've got it for sale around town.
Yep. So Quad City Arts.
Yep.
Roz Talks. Ragged Records and Music, which is the location in Rock Island. The Artery. The Atlas Collective in downtown Moline. And a Moody Shop, which is like a art gallery retail space in LeClaire, Iowa.
Awesome.
Are the main place. Yep.
Yeah, and it's $15? 20?
$17.50.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can find it. You can get it on the website too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
shipped directly.
www.undercurrentarts.com. Excellent. And you've also got an Instagram page where people can find it.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, incredible work. This is. I was just so impressed when you brought it in to share with us at Quad City Arts, and you've done a great thing. Kind of going back to what you were, you know, that idea of bringing kind of such a broad swath and exploring all those areas of art. And you mentioned Roz Talks, because Roz Talks to me is such a unique thing here in the Quad Cities.
Yep.
You know, it's got its own aesthetic and that vibe there. And I know you're connected with Roz Talks, and you know, I'm looking at like Richie's art in here, and it's so hard as an artist to kind of crave that or create that path of like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it and make it work for me.
Right.
You know, what do you find with, you know, talking to an artist like Richie, who's, you know, and I think I showed some of his pictures earlier, but it's so unique.
Oh, yeah.
And so different. And what is it about the Quad Cities that you think kind of fosters that spirit? Because, like, there's definitely a spirit that's under that.
No, absolutely. I think it's like a perfect mix of, we have a great accessibility to things like Chicago, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I got to go to the Art Institute at least a couple times as a kid, which was incredible. And low rent, you know.
Sure.
The cost of living is not crazy. It's easy to get larger spaces here.
Yeah.
Which it lends itself, like, I think I can't remember the author. There's a feminist work called like A Room of Her Own, which is about like, you need to have a room that the door closes to be able to create.
Sure.
Really just like do what you want. And I think there's something about the Quad Cities that really lends itself to that. And I think being in the middle of everything, it's so easy to like expand and go outwards and see other things going on, bring them back into the Quad Cities and work on it there. You know, like Richie, he got his master's in Montana. I've lived on the East Coast. Ben from Roz Talks, you know, he's lived in China and gone all over. And there's a lot of people who grew up in the Quad Cities, left for a while, got what they needed to from that experience, and came back because they wanted to make this a better place.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, well, and I think that says it a lot, is about people wanting to bring back. And, you know, I know, like, my hometown has really thrived in the last 15 to 20 years as far as the art scene there. And so many, you know, I go there and look at it, and it's so many people that I grew up with that went away and then came back and were like, I want to make this place a better place.
Yeah.
You know, and you need those outside experiences of seeing what else there is out there to be able to do that.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it can really, because everybody has like such specific experiences and things that they're bringing in, I mean, it really just, it creates such an incredible tapestry of just different things
Yeah.
to come together. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I also wanted to talk to you about you were talking about the Haitian art earlier, and you mentioned the word craftsmanship several times, you know, and a lot of times I think when people think of, and, you know, I was specifically thinking about the beaded work as well, like, and there's kind of there's that gray area between art and craft,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And like, I feel this work definitely elevates itself out of craft into art. But was there anything you kind of learned, like studying it and researching this, about that distinction or how those things differ?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because many years ago, I found out that Chihuly, the glass artist,
Yeah.
he has a huge workshop full of people that create his things, and he just draws the thing out and he tells them to make it.
Sure.
And I was upset. I was like, why would you put your name on something that you didn't make? But there is something about, like, you know, it's the idea and then it has to be crafted, you know, and those things coming together, whether it's through like an individual's work or like, because Merlin Constant, she has a workshop too. Like,
Yeah.
it's people that she's employing to create these things. To really make those large scale, well crafted works, you kind of have to. It would be insane to do that all yourself, and
Yeah.
you could never really get all of those ideas out. And yeah, I mean, and it's such a tricky thing, you know. I during the day I do like alterations and I create garments. And I do collage work and mixed media and all of these different things where it's very much in that gray area. You know, sewing is a craft, but when you create certain things like fiber arts those are very much on the up and up right now. It really, like, you know, it brings it into a gallery space, and it's really tough to say what elevates craft into art. But it's one of those, I definitely don't remember who made this quote, but it's like, you know, when you see it, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's great. And, you know, like with our Riversance Festival, like we say it is a fine art festival, not a craft festival.
Right.
And, you know, one thing that our committee and I always talk about is like, where is that line?
Yeah. No,
You know?
absolutely.
And is it, it's not just like an element of function, because there are a lot of very functional things that are extremely beautiful and that I would absolutely consider
Yeah.
art.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I think that line, it especially got great in Warhol's area with pop art and
Sure.
that kind of like very industrial warehouse. It almost stripped the art piece of that kind of like, I don't know, je ne sais quoi. It's like, you know, but it made it very commercial, and it's like, this is still art, and it's like, is it? Or is it just a manufactured object that looks nice?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but then, like, you know, we had Glenn Lowry in a few weeks ago, and like talking to him about his prints, like the amount of work and
Oh my goodness, yeah. Yeah. Well, and Glenn's
levels that
incredibly
he puts in,
prolific.
yeah.
Yeah, and his stuff is great.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would definitely call it pop art, but
Yeah, no, absolutely.
it's art.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and that's, you know, that's why it's, you know, it all exists together. Like you know, art and design and craft, you know, you need all of it. And some people, you can clearly see like they're more focused in one of those directions. But what is craft without art? What is design without craft? What,
Right.
you know, you need it all.
Well, yeah, and you think about like the idea of form following function, and like, you know, and I always think of like furniture making when I think of art in that world sometime.
Yeah.
But like, it can be the most beautiful chair in the world, but if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
uncomfortable and you don't want to sit in it,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
what good is
Absolutely.
it?
Yeah, but it's why we had the arts and crafts movement,
Yeah.
Like it's incredible when all of those things come together and you have this final like beautiful thing that it works well, it feels great, looks great. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so talk a little more because I was digging and found some of your mixed media and collage pieces. And, you talked about working with textiles and doing alterations and creating garments. And like I was noticing in your pieces, like you have lots of stitching and stitch work in these. So who is Jessica, the artist?
Well, it's certainly in flux. The last couple of years, I had been working much more like full plus a part-time jobs
Sure.
in marketing. So the collage and mixed media stuff kind of fell off for a while. So I personally, I love to explore different things. And I so strongly believe that the media is the message. So it's like, well, I've got an idea for like oil paintings that I want to do because
Yeah.
I feel like the message that I want to give with that series of things makes sense for oil paintings because it's harkening back to like American realism.
Yeah.
And things like collage, it's great because it's like we have so much things that need to be reused. I mean, I'm finding old magazines and books and things that would otherwise go to waste. Similarly to when I'm creating garments, I like thrifted fabric, dead stock fabric, things that would otherwise be in a landfill, and bringing those things together to formulate something new and beautiful. And collage is really wonderful to be able to just take all of these images and put them together in a way that creates something new and brings something new to the conversation. So certainly Jessica as the artist prefers experimenting. I mean, when I was in school, I switched majors maybe 5 times until I finally said, like, I'm getting a bachelor's degree. Why does it need to be in interactive installation art?
Sure.
I should do something that will get me a job.
Yeah.
But being able to explore those things that's really where the joy of creation comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's you mentioned the message of the pieces, and that's one thing that I found very interesting about the collages that you created, is that there's always story present.
Yeah.
And I'm with my background being theater and film, like storytelling is my jam.
Yeah.
And so I always find I really connect more to art pieces that I can look at and see a story.
Yeah.
And I think yours very strongly have that vibe going to them.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I mean, it's narrative has always been something that I've really loved. I mean, when I was a kid, I was a huge bookworm. I think in 5th grade, I was making the AR tests because I just surpassed them. I was, just constantly had my head in a book. So stories have been something that I always kind of frame things in. So it almost is like, it's second nature. And it's kind of funny that you say you worked in TV and film, because a lot of times when I was making those collages, I was watching something, it was on in the background, it was background noise. But then I would like bring my head up from the collage and be like, oh, I'm like interpreting what I've been listening to, like this has elements of what's going on in the story and in my own life, and it's like framed in this way. Those choices that we make are often subconscious, and it's nice to pull that out and put it onto the paper.
Yeah.
And certainly when it comes to representational art, I think having that narrative lends itself to a much more interesting thing to talk about,
Well, yeah, and you use a lot of, in the pieces I saw at least, a lot of like very feminine imagery or figures, and dolls and things like that to kind of tell that story. And
Absolutely. And certainly, and it comes through in my writing, I'm sure, the feminism focus and through that lens, I mean, it's how I've lived my life.
Right.
It's like a second hand or second nature kind of thing. But yeah.
Well, what are some other stories you want to tell? You've got a magazine now.
Yep. I have a
You can
magazine.
tell stories. Like,
Yeah.
what are you? We talked about it a little bit, but when you look around the art scene of the Quad Cities, and like we see in here, and we have things from Figgy to Roztalks, and obviously very different aesthetics. Like, what stories do you want to tell, whether it's in Undercurrent or with your work?
Well, I mean, certainly I'm drawn to stories of resilience. Everybody loves an underdog, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of underdogs in the Quad Cities. I think there's a lot of people who feel like because we are where we are, it's not a well-known place, but it's a larger town, certainly. I think there's a lot of people who struggle to feel heard and seen and understood, and have found art as a way to do that,
Yeah.
And it's a way to express yourself without necessarily having to speak about it. And so certainly finding those people, I think there's so much outsider art here, which I find incredibly fascinating, like zero formal training, but still creating incredible things. It's that inner drive to create that I find really fascinating. And certainly, I mean, it's funny because when I was thinking about what I wanted this to be when I was writing out the grant and everything, my first thought was like, is yearly too much? And then I started thinking of all of the incredible artists that I know and that, and even, since this has come out, all of the incredible artists that I've met that weren't already in my circles, it's like, I mean, I don't have the resources to make more than one a year, but it could certainly be at least quarterly because there's so many people doing incredible different things.
Yeah.
There's so many stories out there to be told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing that I love that you did with it too is like you also, it can be a resource for artists too. Like in the back, you have this whole list of opportunities and ways that people can engage with arts and other arts, which I thought is extremely valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. And that came together because I was personally looking for grants and I was like, there needs to just be like, I want a piece of paper that tells me where to go to get this. And if you want something, make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that. And that speaks to what you were saying about outsider art, of people who don't have the formal training, but just create.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think at all people should be getting these fancy degrees or, doing anything beyond making what they want to make.
Yeah. Well, and I think some of that is there's such a basic human need for creation on some level, and I remember at one point I was going through the artist's way, and it was doing some other things and was thinking about just like creative mindset and what that is, and sometimes it can be as simple as like, I am going to, rather than just like, I'm going to make a sandwich, like, no, like I am going to actively think about the act of creating this sandwich and kind of having that intentionality to your creation. Like it was the same sandwich I ate the day before. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
right.
I thought about it more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to intentionally like layer everything and place everything, that's like when Ben and I are downstairs making like a banh mi sandwich. We get this all the time. People say, like, you're being so careful about it. It's like every single sandwich is a piece of art. And it's like, well, yeah, because we are intentionally making this thing. We want you to enjoy it. and we
Yeah.
want every single bite to be perfect, you know. And that's just, I think it's a great way to just, you know, live your life, is to just make sure that every moment you're intentionally going forward with what you want to do,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it can be so easy to just get in the wash, rinse, repeat kind of cycle of life.
Yeah, and then you wake up at like 60, like,
Yeah, what did
who
I
is
do?
this? What am I doing? Yeah.
Well, it's, it's that phrase when I was in early fatherhood, and my little guy's 5 now, but I remember someone telling me once, like, the days seem, the individual day seems like it's infinitely long,
Yeah.
but the years go by.
Oh, yeah.
And like as you
Yeah.
age, you just sense that more and more when you're like, I'm almost 50. What?
Yeah, no,
What?
absolutely, yeah.
I'm 28.
No, it's wild the way time moves, and you know, I've heard that as you get older, it's like things become less novel, so it just feels like it picks up that much quicker.
Sure.
And yeah, if you just get into these routines and you let yourself turn off, because especially with distractions nowadays,
Yeah.
it's easy to turn off. And I've seen something that I hope more and more people start to become attuned to, but that it's okay to be bored. In fact, you should
Yeah.
seek it out at this point, because that's where like creation and new ideas come from. Is
Yeah.
just staring at the wall, like, what do I do? I need to do something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are always those best moments of inspiration of, I am bored, I need to do something.
Right. Yeah.
And that
so
leads
often
me
it's-
to making something,
yeah,
or
exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of being on the phone.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not need to read any more sports articles
Right.
today.
Yeah.
I have learned it all, or
Right.
get lost in some
Exactly.
comment section about something.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining me today, Jessica.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
Yeah,
this
thanks for having
this
me.
is amazing. It looks
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to see where it goes. Again, for our listeners, you can check out www.undercurrents.com to order a copy. And where can we find it again?
Raz Talks, Ragged Records and Music in Rock Island, Quad City Arts, the Artery, Atlas Collective in downtown Moline, and a Moody Shop in LeClaire, Iowa.
Awesome. We'll go check out Undercurrent. And thank you so much,
Yeah,
Jessica.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, and once again, we'll thank our sponsor, Quad City Bank and Trust, and join us next time for Talking Art.